Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the WrestlePlug YouTube channel. Not sure if I'll make a podcast out of this because, frankly, I'm too lazy. I am the AC, the Egyptian Death Machine, master of shithousery, Hendricks. But if somebody is going to run me close for a level of shithousery, it certainly will be my guest at this time, my co-host to review ACW's Return of the Sixth. I prefer Return of the Mac, personally, but it is what it is. It is, of course, the proprietor of the knobs, the fridge freezer, the drinker of Bacardi Breezer, and the toucher of consensual teasers that is Ebenezer, the full-time geezer.
Danger Zone!
How'd you get life insurance, Ebenezer? Don't they know you're in the Danger Zone? Someone's been introduced to Archer and he's thoroughly enjoying the process, bless him.
Absolutely loving it. It's
more of that.
Funniest thing, apart from Big Mouth, it's one of the funniest animations I've seen for a long time.
Yeah, I think because I saw Archer first, I think that's probably my favourite, but Big Mouth is phenomenal and the casting is immense. But we're not here to talk about cartoons. Well, we are for the first match because we're going to talk about the knobs. So, obviously, we're going to have plenty of opinions. We're going to have honest critiques. We're going to do it how we normally do it. But Ebenezer the Geezer, of course, has to be slightly less partial for this one, or impartial, because he, of course, was at ringside to see Sensational Simon take a big fat L, once again, shock, against the dog, Rusty Jack. Talk to me about the process then, Geezer. What the hell went down in the opening match between Sensational Simon and Rusty Jack?
Well, I'm not going to say what happened on mine because I was literally just going round calling a load of kids like a bunch of bin dippers. But other than that, obviously, it was me on the side watching one of my best pals, Simon Durden, Sensational Simon Durden, get his ass handed to him by a German Shepherd. No, not even that. He's a little, like a little schnitzel, isn't he?
Say, don't be throwing German Shepherds under the bus. That's my favourite breed of dog. Plus, I like Rusty Jack. But obviously, I'll give the critiques because this bellend over here is going to be having a little cry about how his mate lost to a dog, which doesn't really surprise me.
No. I will be honest enough to say that he had his ass handed to him. Like, if he cannot pay attention to a tiny little dog, then how are we going to get anywhere? The week beforehand, he'd lost to two mongoloids, a psycho and one with a disorder. And now he loses to a dog. Like, where are we going to go with this? Like, the accountant needs to step up.
I mean, crunch them numbers, baby. I want to know which two are mongoloids. Are you referring to Jack Snare and Rudy Root?
I'm not calling anyone like what. No.
Because he wants a booking, innit? But it is what it is.
No, I like them, but you know.
Well, you call them mongoloids, so you can't like them that much. Although it is a term of affection in your house.
I was going to say, like,
as is the mukmong. Bang. Yeah, no, I obviously being the cameraman, yeah, you're privy to action, aren't you? And you get to see more details of what you're watching when you're up close than maybe the fans do because they're more sort of invested in the moment, and no reason why we're not either. I actually really like it. I really like Rusty Jack. I really like the gimmick. I like the style. I like the attitude, and he's somebody who's been around for a fair while. I don't know why I don't see him on more camp circuits and things like that. I feel like that's just absolute money for it. Maybe he is, and I'm just not paying attention enough, but I really like the guy. I actually thought this was one of Simon's better matches, personally. What did you think? Because you've been privy to so many of his.
Yeah. Like you say, it was one of his best performances. I enjoyed it. He was able to talk more and give the crowd a little bit more shit. And but when you're coming up against someone like Rusty Jack, who's just like, he's got his character down so much. He's fantastic with the character. Like, I admire his work and commitment, and he's got a simple move set. And as soon as like his music hit, the crowd went wild for him. He's so over. Like say, like, it's a shame that we don't see him on more camp shows because I reckon like promoters would love to have someone like Rusty Jack on their card, just for like majorly more for the kids, because the kids will absolutely go wild for it. Absolutely crazy.
There's a lot of local companies around there, like Kapow and SWF, Quality, CWP, and the fact that he doesn't wrestle for any of them is actually a little bit disappointing, in my opinion. Like, I just feel like he's ready-made for a lot of those companies, especially at Kapower and SWF, who lean to more and more comedic superhero kind of style of things. Yeah, no, I like the match. I thought Sensational Simon was good. If I had critiques, I've already told him, but it just needed to lay his shit in. I feel like his strikes are very soft. I think when you're wrestling someone like Rusty Jack as well, who, with all due respect, is a much smaller man in stature, but not in heart, of course, there's no excuse for kind of love tapping him. Like that, it stands out more. Like, you can kind of get away with maybe love tapping someone who's a bit bigger if you still look like you're intending to hit them, but with a smaller guy, the worse it gets, if you know what I mean. It's kind of grading on a curve. And yeah, no, just fire in general. Would like to see more of that, because I feel like Simon has all the tools to be a great wrestler, but he hasn't quite put them all together into a package that works for him. Also, lose the name Durden, mate. It's literally the most boring name in wrestling.
What would you give him? What
Sensational Simon is fine.
Leave it Sensational Simon. Leave it to the SS.
Yeah. Of course he would make a joke like that, for fuck's sake. And for any children watching, who, God forbid, should not be watching anyway, because this is definitely an 18+ territory. Yeah, no, don't Google SS. Especially not in the video section of the tabs. And if you say why not, I will slap you. Honestly.
But either
Check out a Perspective podcast to find out all about Ebenezer. Thanks for that. And I thought this match too, eh? Do you think you should keep Durden then? Do you think that's all right as a second name?
I don't like it, but then it's one of them things. I think he should capitalise on it. Like, we've made many jokes about his last name.
Yeah, it's just everything. It works on every film. Yeah, either do that or bid it off, mate, you filthy bin dipper, or stop being a child running around with a silly little t-shirt that says knob and grow up. How about that? Just grow up. It's pathetic is what it is. Start acting like an actual fucking fully grown adult. The same certainly goes for you, Mr. Kenway. Disgraceful. 30 Days are all right. I like 30 Days. That's fine. Favoritism.
Come on. We're keeping it kosher.
We like the dirty geezers, but, the other two, marks, as far as I'm concerned, marks. So, moving on. After that, I was joined at the camera position by some cretin. I
wanted to get involved. I wanted to get a payday, all right?
That doesn't mean you can just wander up. And the fact that you're even on this podcast shows how generous a person I am, because I was absolutely steaming. By the way, you still owe me on the down payment for the camera, you thieving little shite bag. But I expect nothing better from one of the nasty old boys, to be honest.
You still owe me an invoice. I am owed.
Yeah, because in my world, I definitely
getting on that camera for 4 matches. I'm owed money.
It's just a motor mouth, unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen.
Anyway,
Anyway, first of all, 2 things. Let's talk about the match. And second of all, just quickly, do I look like I deal with invoices, please? You must be joking, bro. Not even a paper trail. Are you stupid? Aye. Why would I get an invoice? I don't want to be inside the danger zone. Right.
Yes. Very good.
Right, I've totally forgotten. Second match. Some Luchador versus Thrash Katie. Did you like it? Wait, Tornado, wasn't it? Tornado was his name. Sorry, lad. No, Big Red Tornado. I actually thought this was really good. The first time I saw Thrash Katie, I openly said on a podcast, wasn't impressed. Didn't like the look, didn't like the style of wrestling, looked very green, had a reasonable amount of fire, but didn't really acknowledge the audience or anything like that. What a massive evolution from the guy I saw not 6 months ago. They looked fantastic, much stiff as houses. Not sure how much. I mean, I don't personally care, but there's a lot of people who'd be like, "Oh, stop hurting me," like Sensational Simon for one, the big fucking pussy. There's people who just wouldn't take the shots as well, and I think that might irk a few people. But what do you think of the addition of a kind of heavy metal kilt as well, and also the fact that there was a lot more crowd work going on in this?
You see, I've always been one of them for if you've got a character down or if you've got a story behind it, then, go with, all the clothing and stuff like that. I don't understand what the kilt's about. if he's supposed to be like a mosh pit from hell, then I don't understand where the kilt comes into it. Like, it's all opinions, it's all, just, our thoughts and processes. Like, he can tell us to, go shove it if he wants to, but I don't understand the kilt. But like you say, that match, that was I was really impressed with that one, because even with Tornado, I was in a match with him before Christmas, and that was, it seemed like he was like brand new to the game then. And this one showed that he's been working his ass off. And, I thought he done really well. He was so over with the crowd. He's got that fire. He plays a face really nicely. And he's got a gnarly little jacket with him as well, like a nice little burgundy jacket, sort of like the Star-Lord from Guardians of the Galaxy.
Burgundy. Ow.
Yeah.
Ow. Ow. Yeah, no, I must admit, I wasn't as enamored with Mr. Luchador, Mr. Tornado. I didn't think he was bad by any means, but you can definitely tell that he's only just broken into the business, got a long way to go to get his character up. I'm not a big fan of luchadors in the British scene anyway, unless it's like a Santos, or if you're just an outright crazy, because then you don't get to see facial expressions. So I don't know. Maybe he's not as good at selling, and that's why they put a mask on him. I don't know. But he was fine. Like, his in-ring work was great. The spear at the end was gnarly. Like, Fresh Katie throws a
that spear was lush. That was a great spear. And like you say, with him like laying all of his shit in, that looks like stiff as shit. It looks good. And like a lot of the times when he laid them in, every time I looked over to you and your face was every time it's just whoa, whoa,
meaty. I like meaty collisions. I don't mind a bit of stiffness, as you know. I like to be stiff. I enjoyed it. Like, I really like it, but I can imagine from a different perspective, if you're laying in those forearms as hard as you are, just make sure that you're putting it in the right place, and not being too much of a shit house.
Oh, that big boot was something special.
Considering what he wears as well, like the boots he does wear as well, pretty gnarly. His big boot's actually very impressive, because it's kind of like a Cameron Grimes stomp, but he just uses one, and he's like, wham, and lays it in. But I will say one thing, like, we go on about stiffness and stuff like that. Better to be that than completely limp. Like, I use the loop noodle theory. That's what I call it. If your arm's just like, fuck off. I can't stand that, especially when you're laying in clotheslines. If you're just holding your arm back here, that's fucking garbage. Garbage is what that is. So yeah, lay your shit in, but just be careful about it. But I got to say, Fresh Katie, very impressed. We're going to talk about Fresh Katie a bit more. He obviously picks up the win here. He got interrupted by a bin dipping potato at the end, didn't he? More Robbie Nitro comes wandering down. Can't even afford shoes apparently. At this point, it's obviously very hard for him. Life's tough.
In his wife beater vest, in his khaki shorts.
It's like state of it. What a jippo. He just comes down, and I'm like, I gotta be honest, like, from a genuine shoot perspective, I just thought he looked ridiculous. Thought he looked a bit greasy. But the crowd were well behind him.
Any other normal day.
No, that is absolutely fair. This is literally Nitro in front of the TV. We got we got Nitro from literally every day.
Andy, get me the shotgun.
It did look a little bit like he was just going to come out and be like, get your first key to this. Like, in America, he would have got the biggest fucking pot, wouldn't he? Especially in like Tennessee or Arkansas, where they sleep with their own family. Like, that would have been good shit. They would have been all over there.
Watching your watch-alongs.
I think he has watched too many watch-alongs, because he literally seems to be dressed like half of them. I'm quite impressed. By the way, shout out to everyone who's offered us some suggestions, including our boy JC Cardi, who we're going to discuss in a bit. Robbie Nitro just set up the match with Fresh KD later. No, whatever, doesn't really bother me. But the crowd were behind it, so it must have worked to a certain degree. So you can't really complain too much. And then, of course, closing the first half is something quite special, actually. Roger Sears versus Scotty Jones.
I was really impressed with that one. Really impressed. Like, to begin with, I didn't realize that Roger was coming out as the bad guy. So when he came out and was like very like dark, just staring daggers through all of the
The drowning pool
people,
as
I
well. I was
thought,
like,
oh,
oh yeah.
this guy is already like hated just for staring daggers. I cannot imagine what like happens through the match, and it was something wonderful.
He's
It
paying
was.
attention to the storyline as well, isn't he? Did you notice, like the kids behind me, who, by the way, were bloody ruthless,
Oh,
were
mate.
just like they constantly were screaming at him about, oh, you lost to Rusty Jet, which he technically didn't. It was a time limit draw, wasn't it? And then at the last show, I believe you were obviously in the locker room doing your ting because you had just knocked off Hot Potato in the game and the emo mute. But yeah,
Oh,
no, Roger Sears is just evolution is the word. Like he is evolving so quickly as a talent, and one of the guys who kind of helps run everything backstage in that, and who's kind of in charge of the company. He said to me, "What people don't realize is Roger's actually trained with Scott and has been training about the same amount of time, but because he doesn't have the same kind of shiny look, like Scott Jones looks like Noam Dar, Roger Sears looks a little
he
bit
looks magnificent, doesn't he?
Oh yeah, he's just like he's in prime condition. He's Scott Joe, very handsome man. He's Scotty. Yeah, definite man crush in full effect on that one. Not as much as the main event now, I'm afraid, but
Purple pants, purple pants.
purple pants, tighty whities, the man of 1,000 coloured schemes. I quite impressive, and obviously, as you know, I love a colour scheme.
Mm.
And Ebenezer, not so much. But it is one of those things where Roger Sears versus Scott Jones, they just tore the fucking house down. This is one of those matches where they come up to you after and say, "Oh, any critiques?" Difficult to find any, to be honest. Like
Yeah.
it was brilliant. This is. Do you know what fucks me off? Right, this match, like obviously, I'll edit it, put it together, throw it to them. But you get the impression people aren't going to see as much of this as maybe they would if it was put on like a YouTube channel or something like that. And hopefully that's something ACW is going to do down the line. But it's
Yeah.
one of those things where it's like, man, I think people need to see that because I think they will genuinely be so like Scott Jones is the future. I believe that he'll be wrestling everywhere for the next 20 years. But Roger Sears deserves so many more bookings. He should be working at CWP. He should be working at Kapow. He should be working at all these smaller places, Premier Promotions, Rumble, and the like, because he's actually got just the right level of character and talent to work as a heel. It's perfect. Like he's just brilliant. He can go into any promotion now with his current style and get a job done for people without being too overboard. It's not critiques. It's more a case of with time he'll grow, I think, into saying more and maybe producing just the little things, a little bit more
Yeah.
shit
I
talking.
think now it's more of like where Scotty is so over with the crowd,
Yeah.
he needs to then get more heat to sort of overcompensate it because I felt like the crowd were more on the friendlier side of things and they weren't paying enough attention to Roger because he wasn't giving enough shit to them, like in my opinion, like it was a fantastic match. Like you say, you can't critique whatsoever, and like they both evolved, but like if anything, Roger just needs to give more shit. That's literally all it is. In all truth, he gave good enough. He kept working. What was it? His knee that he kept working.
Yeah, he kept putting him in a single-legged Boston Crab.
Yeah, kept like working the exact same leg. The storyline was absolutely perfect. Everything was fantastic. Just a shame of what happened. What happened at the end. What happened at the end. It was a shame that they got what's the word, interrupted by
Yeah,
an
like
harder.
well, I mean, the match ends obviously with a disqualification. Not can't just say like I don't know if this will upset somebody. Don't really care, as you know. But I think the 2 yellow cards and the red card thing is bollocks. Don't like it. Think it's pretty shoddy. Think it's a bit cheap, a bit tacky. If it doesn't make sense if you're trying to relate it to football, because unless your name's Graham Pole, you don't produce 3 cards before you send somebody off.
No.
So for me, I'm like, can't you just do what everyone else does in old school British rounds? Just say one, you got 3 public warnings. 3rd time you're out. 3 times strike, you're gone. 3 strikes and you're out. Not yellow card, and it's like 2nd public warning. It's like, well, then you don't need the cards. Don't over convolute things for a smaller audience, especially a more family-based audience, because they don't care about that.
No, and I feel like it sort of like brings it down a bit when they're like going over to the announcer, waving the red
Slows it down.
and whatnot. Yeah, it takes too long. Like you're better off doing what they do everywhere else and just like try and stop them, ring the bell as you're trying to stop them and stuff like that. Like just to get involved and try to, you know, get your hand in the motion rather than waving the cards about. I've never been a fan of the cards and I've never really understood the concept, but I know it's some sort of, you know, old school thing. But
British, they're going for the old school British techniques, like Rumble does it, and Rumble does it quite well because instead of all the cards and the faff, the referee will literally just go, right, I've told you enough times. Basically, it's for foul play. And the other thing is, like, I really like Adam Lee, the MC. I think he does a really good job. He's one of my more favorite MCs on the British circuit. I think he's really good at what he does. And this isn't really a reflection of him because he's been told to say this, obviously. But when he like reads out and tries to describe it and says for hair pulling, for punches, crowd aren't going to eat that all up. Just literally come out and say, ladies and gentlemen, we have a public warning in place, a public warning system in place, 3 strikes and you're out. And obviously you will get a public warning for serious foul play. And just leave it at that. Like,
not only that as well, but there was times during the night as well that it wasn't kept to it. I think there was one time there was like a nut
in the
shot.
main event, there was loads of closed fists, and the referee was just like, and that kind of makes the referee look dumb. And then as an audience member, I'm sitting there thinking, okay, like from a kayfabe standpoint, it's a bit of a shatter. You're like, oh, so it's bad enough that it's convoluted, but if you're not keeping to it as well, you know. But literally the only thing that left even a slightly sour taste in my mouth, but it won't leave too much of one because it shouldn't detract from how good their match was the fact that some idiot bin dipper in the front row decided that it was okay to put his hands on the talent. And I was just like, okay, sit the fuck down, grow the fuck up, especially if you're supposedly a worker. Like, I think that's garbage. I think that's really trash. And I think trying to put yourself over, we've seen this at other shows we've worked where people are trying to put themselves over in the audience and it's just cringe-worthy. Why don't you go into a training school and earn it instead of being a fucking bellend?
The thing is, like, it's one of those things where it was everyone backstage, or there was enough people backstage that was upset with what happened, but there was also people in the crowd that was also pulling me to one side and, you know, like having words with me saying that, you know, make sure they don't get involved in the next match or this, that, and the other, because if they do, then like it's going to be thrown, and you don't want fights being thrown out just because you want to inject yourself into, like, get yourself over. You know, it's not the right way to go about it.
I just think from an old school mentality as well, back in the day, if you were a fan, like, fans interjected a lot more back in the old days. You know, you can listen to Cornette talk about it for days, and you know, people would try and stab wrestlers, throw things at them, hit them over the head with things. And there were numerous incidences of wrestlers just, you know, the locker room would normally empty. If you touched a wrestler, you get a fucking shite kicked out of you. Simple as that. And then you get it dragged off by the police. It's not a good look for people. And people, you know, this, you know, people like this should fucking know better. It does. It makes my blood boil a little bit because it's not like it's just some random punter who's got a bit excited and had a couple of drinks. You just think, sit down and shut up. Roger handled it beautifully, just kind of shoved him back in his seat.
Fair play.
Like, that's the consummate professional is Roger Sears in every sense, and that just gives him even more brownie points with people in general. I think in the business, if they see the way he handles that, I think, great, excellent professional, because you can't obviously just go off on a fan, you know, in that respect. You have to kind of measure it as to how you're getting it. But bottom line is, grow up, you fucking child. It's as simple as that, really. Grow the fuck up. Like, you know, start acting like somewhat of a professional, and maybe you might get opportunities down the line, but you won't get them acting like that. Like, absolutely not. So, but, you know, what do you expect? What do you expect, really? But it's not something I want to dwell on. I want to talk about more wrestling. Second half of the show, I got to be honest, until the main event, it kind of had a bit of a lull for me. And I'm always looking at the match after the card, after the sort of, you know, after the intermission, because that's kind of like not the death spot, but you've got to bring the crowd back up. So you need something with a lot of energy. How do you feel about the fourth match in general? Is it something that, do you feel like it helps bring up the crowd? Do you feel like this one especially did?
This one, not so much. I thought there was a few faults in this one. You know, for those that don't know, it was Robbie Nitro versus Thrash Katie again, and you know, it was one of those things Ergen. It was one of those things where like everyone had already seen Thrash before,
Yeah.
so you know, pulling off double duties. I wouldn't say hard enough, but
I
it's
feel like he's the guy. Like, no offense to Thrash, because I feel like he's definitely improving, but putting him in that spot where he wrestles twice, I didn't understand that. Of all the guys you've got who could, like a Scott Jones, for instance, or a Brandon, or there's loads of guys in that company who could go out and have 2 matches and be great. And I'm not saying Thrash can't do that, but I got to be honest. I thought this was the weakest match of the night. Thrash Katie's already had a really good performance, so he's then got to go back out. And do you know how difficult it is just to sort of memorize one match? You'll know this better than me. So to then have to go and do it again and have another match with a different psychology and an entirely different opponent to what you had earlier on as well. Like, that's for the proper pros who have been in this business for a long time. So it was a bit of an unfair spot to put him in.
You think the one beforehand he was against a kid in a mask, and this one he's against a meaty hoss of a man who's
meaty hoss my ass. Like, I don't know what your idea of a meaty hoss is, mate. This is a meaty hoss. That at best is a medium-sized spud. I'm not having that. Like, not having that nonsense. This geezer is one half of your classic Tesco 2 potatoes in a fucking bag, mate. He's a baked potato at best. I'm not having that, and I don't even know if he smokes weed or not. Like, meaty hoss my fat ass. I could run him over without even sneezing. Ludicrous suggestion. I'm not having that.
Either way, like, you got to give Robbie his due.
No, I don't.
It looks nice now. The crowd were into it at the beginning, and then I felt like as the match started, it sort of there wasn't enough of the match. There wasn't
It's only like 8 or 9
sort of like dwindled off a little bit, and I don't understand why there was another run in at the end of it. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, a run in that kind of was totally. By the way, like, so that is a big critique for me. So JC Cardi runs in to help Thrash because they are friends. And to be fair, they've built that up. They've been on promos together online, so that's not a problem. But one thing that really frustrated me was the fact that they did it right over the back where the crowd couldn't see it, which is ridiculous. Like, you've got to work to the audience you have. That's one critique I do have. You can't be doing that, because even we struggle to catch it. Luckily, the hard cam gets it. But it's one of those things of like, like how it, and also we're not in the know either, like, which is good. I kind of like that sometimes because
I like the element of surprise.
Organic, yeah, I like organic stuff, so I don't mind that so much. But it's that thing of like, and from what I've heard, it didn't work out as well, or the contact wasn't made properly, or whatever. But Thrash Katie gets 2 wins. That's good because he's going to be around for a long time. So it's good that you've established him as more of a mega heel. And I also like the fact that he's, not in this match. I think it was his first match where he screamed "Shut up, nerd!" at somebody while he was standing.
Oh, mate, that killed me. That absolutely popped me when he's
money. That is.
I thought it's absolutely fantastic.
More of that. More shit talking.
More of the nerd stuff.
Target children, target old people, make them feel your wrath and call them nerds. That is money as far as I'm concerned. The new gallows of ACW, Thrash Katie. I'm all aboard that. That's good shit. I thought this match was pretty weak, and then the finish was pretty shit as well. The spear didn't look very good, wasn't bumped properly. Just wasn't fantastic. And obviously, I'd expect the same critiques if I'd done that. I didn't think much of it, to be fair. But on the plus side, Thrash still looked good, getting his heat. Robbie was very over, got great babyface heat, and his gear looks fantastic as well. He looked much better in this than he does in his old Brexiteer nonsense. Good to see you actually dressing for the occasion instead of, you didn't earlier, obviously, in the night, dress for the occasion, but at least you did. Here he comes, the old hobbit, or meaty hoss. Fuck yeah. I mean, anyone's a meaty hoss.
I knew that would trigger you.
It just annoys the fuck out of me, like, especially as I know you're a toothpick, sweetheart, so you wouldn't know anything about being a hoss, but come on, like, Nitro. Terrible. That's like saying Scott Jones is somewhat talented. Now
we all know you lying there, darling.
Yeah. But he is my favourite Scotsman. It has to be said by some margin. I love that boy. Then we had JC Cardi come right back out again to wrestle the Vegan Warrior. And somebody went walkies for this match. Where the fuck were you?
I mean, I needed a shit. I needed to go for a quick fag, and I was on the phone to the IRS. So, I had places to be. It was just, bad timing. I did tell you to wait for me, but you
What do you mean, wait for you?
I told you, like, I told you to let them know. Just, I'll be about
Yeah.
half hour.
Hey,
I'll be a half hour. Wait for me. I'll be back. But no, you had
yes. Yes, I'm in charge of the intermissions apparently, and I can just halt the show for half an hour while you have a shit. Unfortunately, sweetie, you're just not that important, so I just cracked on with the job as I always do.
Well,
Big
and it's one
Warrior.
of them. It's a good thing that I wasn't there because that Ryan Hendricks. Whoa.
Yeah. Yeah. Whoa.
Whoa.
Great stuff, pal. Good heat. Yeah, so Ryan Hendricks took on JC Cardi, and obviously Ebenezer will shut his mouth because he didn't see it, so he's got nothing to contribute as per usual. Other than suspect jokes about Nazis. Check out the Perspective podcast; you won't regret it. I'm going to drive views towards it. Big fan of the Hitler, this one. So yeah, JC Cardi versus Ryan Hendricks. Honestly, not a fan. Not a fan. So I thought JC Cardi was pretty decent. I really like the look. I like how much of a shithouse he looks. Somebody screamed at him from the get-go. That's what happens when you order Chris Jericho from Wish, which is a bit cruel, but also quite amusing. The tash is phenomenal. I like it. It makes you look like a right dirty bastard. And that's what you're trying to convey, especially if you're going to be with Fresh Katie. The problem is, so with him and Fresh Katie being a pairing, you didn't see Fresh Katie in this match, which I thought was a little bit disappointing because why not return the favor? He's literally just helped him win a match. So,
Yeah.
And also he's literally just wrestled, so why not just stay out there? I like JC Cardi's attitude, like the jacket. I love his swagger. He's got great ring awareness, great character awareness. I feel like certain things could be polished up. But one thing I really like about him is his pacing. He never goes too quickly. He's not rushing through all his stuff. He's like, take it nice and easy, let it breathe. And because of that, he gets better heat than most of the guys on the roster do because he gives the fans an opportunity to hate what he's doing instead of like, right, next spot and cracking on.
Some of the best matches are the ones where you can literally just stare through the audience rather than doing 5 minutes of high flying, like technical stuff, like your Will Ospreay and Ricochet. How are you supposed to get heat and shit like that when it's way too quick for my liking? And when you've got people like JC Cardi that take their time with it, take their time with giving shit to the audience, take their time with like putting stuff into work on body parts and stuff like that. He's good. I like JC. I think he's good.
I do. He's got a lovely attitude towards the business. Good guy as well. And Ryan Hendricks is clearly very talented as an athlete. I think the gimmick sucks, especially as a face. How can you come out, brag about being a vegan, stick carrots in people's ears? I just think do you know what it is? It's like more of this comedy bullshit. And I like comedy. Like, you're funny as fuck. You're really good at stuff like that. But you're not shoving a cucumber up someone's arsehole and you're not shoving a carrot into someone's ear. I just think it's too immature for me to enjoy from a face perspective. Now, if he was a heel, I feel like it would work a lot better. Because there is so much that's going on there. He had this little trophy. Apparently, that's something to do with Southwest Wrestling or something. I don't know. Something South Coast. I don't fucking know. It looks stupid and tacky, frankly, as far as I'm concerned, but it is what it is. Plus, Ryan has had no problems chatting shit about me online, so I shall certainly fire back, apologies or not, on Real Wrestling, you goon. Don't think much of the gimmick. Like the t-shirt, by the way. Love the Turtles thing, because obviously I love Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, so I was a big fan of that. But you should be a heel. You should not be a face. You're coming out and you're basically preaching about 5 a day and stuff like that. 2, with all due respect, Malcolm's a lot of the time. So these people are going to be of the opinion of, and to be fair, you saw it in the crowd. Quite a lot of people were booing him. Quite a lot of people reacted. Like I could hear it quite a lot. Obviously, you wouldn't know because you're on the shitter and then you were chatting about some bird outside. But, there's this thing of like, actually, a lot of people were like, I heard people go, "Kick fucking ass, JC," because it's like, how am I supposed to cheer for a vegan? Especially if I like a good steak and chips, which I do, because unlike Robbie Nitro, I'm a proper meaty hoss and I don't eat placenta all day. The bottom line is, I just think, I didn't think much of it. I thought the match was a bit tacky, a bit silly, a bit stupid. The only thing I will say is because it was the penultimate match, it's set up for the main event just fine, and that meant that those guys could bring a more serious tone and a better kind of rivalry to it. But yeah, no, I don't think it was a good opponent for JC either. And then chopping out to a cucumber over the head.
Yeah, I was about to say, I watched a highlight of the ending with him hitting him over the head with a cucumber, and I don't get that either. I don't get this whole cucumber thing. And not only that, like if you're gonna try and do the facey Eddie Guerrero stuff, then you have to be mega over first. So people
be super charismatic. I don't think, with all due respect, Ryan seems like, from a shoot perspective, Ryan seems like a really nice guy, really chill. He's got his chakra and all that stuff. You know, I'm not really big on that stuff, but
that's the way you said it. His chakra.
Chakra. I can just imagine Vince McMahon if he's like, "Hey Vince, I'm all about the chakra. What the fuck is a chakra? Get out!" You know, that's one of those things. Like, shut up. I just, you know, he's obviously cut from a very different cloth to me, and that's absolutely fine. I'm very accepting of people, unlike Ebenezer. But it's one of those things where you just think,
I am very accepting of people, just not of vegans.
The problem is you're very accepting.
Annoying.
In the sense that you accept that you hate all of them for their very different means and ethnicities and whatever.
I just hate everyone.
Everyone in freak.
Exactly. I'm an equal opportunist hater. I don't care on color. I don't care on race. I don't care if you're a vegan or.
All right. Hurry up, sweetheart. This fucking thing should have been
annoying as shit.
20 minutes ago. Jesus Christ! If I want
anyway, let's get on to the last match because
I'm falling asleep over here listening to your accomplishments.
Let's go to the last match because the last match was amazing.
Yes, it was, because it had literally the sexiest man alive. So Brandon Lee, who by the way is fit, faced Danny Disorder in obviously a match that's been building 2 years in the making. It was one of those things where, you know, last show, obviously they were involved in a triple threat and Brandon finally excommunicated himself from the clutches of the one with the disorder. And here we are one-on-one of nothing on the line but pride here. Brandon Lee and his, you know, he's been in the main event before, but this is kind of like the spotlight's on him. How's he going to react? How's he going to do? And I thought this was fucking wonderful. Brandon Lee, again, just like Scott Jones, is a mega star. He is the future of our business. He looks insane. Also, he's massive. People don't realize that. He's like 6'4", 6'5", like a whopping great unit, the kid. So he's got all the potential to be anywhere he wants. He's ludicrously good looking. My Lord.
Always working out, and you can tell with how trim he is. My goodness, those muscles. Oh my good God. Like that long hair, like he's something different. His selling is fantastic, by the way.
He's cut from a different cloth, and I need to actually drown myself in the scent from that cloth. Phenomenal. The man crushes it for the fact here, baby. I gotta say, Danny Disorder is so good at getting faces over. He is so good at being a prick.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it so much. He is a proper little shithouse. Wonderful. I mean, he got you over as a face, and you're the biggest arsehole I know. That is an astonishing achievement.
I don't need anybody's help, but he helped me out.
So much of this, sweetheart, and not enough of this. That's your problem. Bottom line, that's why you're talking to IRS, isn't it? Hoping they'll throw you. That's what you're up to. Oh, you owe an arse shoister. Send us a bung, will you, lads? You know, I just thought this match was great. I heard that some people weren't enamored with them working on the leg because we'd already seen that in Scott Jones versus Roger Sears. If I was watching maybe WWE Backlash, I'd be like, don't understand why I'm seeing that. But on a show like this, I personally don't think it matters that much. I will say that, yeah, you have seen it before, but Brandon's selling of it was amazing. I don't know if you noticed when he kicked up in the corner and he could only use one leg and he's like forcing himself. And the fact that you can kip up onto one leg is obscene anyway. But the way he does it and he's like still holding on to his leg, selling it, and then falls back into the corner. He's like, I'm using the fire, everything that I'm drawing from the audience to get myself and will myself back up to my feet is shit hot psychology. That's a clip I want to show people. If they say to me, talk to me about, you know, help me out with ring psychology, help me out in terms of selling and things like that, watch this is how you do that. Like excellent stuff, mate. This kid just gets it. And Danny is I kind of feel sorry for Danny a little bit because he had a fantastic performance, but obviously the idea was to kind of get Brandon over. So he does that well. But Danny Disorder has got a really big spot in this business, and another one deserves to be working everywhere.
Yeah, and it's one of them, like, he done the job correctly, because even though, you know, you're out there to get someone else up and you're out there to get yourself over, in my opinion, he doesn't need to, because everyone knows who he is, everyone knows how he works, everyone knows what he's about. So it's one of them. If he is, I don't know, say someone like a John Cena or an AJ Styles that brings in like all of the young guns just to get them over, kind of thing, and like take the losses and what have you, I think good on him, because him losing, I don't think it takes a major effect on him. I don't think it makes him look bad in any sense whatsoever, because that was a masterclass match, which still showed how absolutely brilliant it was and the psychology behind it. There was no other way that you could change that. Like, if anything, he needed the loss, and like they both executed it perfectly. Both of them are pretty much well over with the crowd as well. The only thing that I've got critique wise, and it's nothing to do with him, it's more to do with the whole red and yellow card thing. You know, like there was a couple of times where there was some hair pulling in there. There was, you know, as you said earlier, closed fist. There was a nut shot in there, and I think, what did we see? One yellow card.
Yeah, to be fair, the nut shot was like kind of an accident as well, from what I could tell, because I was very privy. I might have to edit that down in post. All you can hear is him go, "That was my fucking dick." Like, that's my shit, pal. I was like,
yeah, like for me, if you're gonna go with the system, then you have to do it properly. I can understand sometimes that when there's a referee that wouldn't do something if the shoulders aren't down completely. I think there was one time in that match that there wasn't a shoulder down, and it sort of like ruined the atmosphere.
There were a few moments actually in this match where that happened. Obviously, you know, it's one of those things where you kind of look back at it and you're privy to it in the edit, but there were a few moments where the referees missed the shoulders, and like you've got to pay more attention or get your positioning better in that respect.
Well, this is it. I can't remember. I don't think I was in the correct position to see where the shoulders were. So I can't say whether it was the ref's fault for not seeing it properly or whether it was the wrestler's fault for not pinning down properly. But, you know, there's little tiny things like that in everywhere that I've been so far. There's been every promotion where little things like that have had major slip ups, and it sort of ruins it for someone who's looking for it. You know, someone like the crowd, it might not have done that much difference, but for me, when I you know, when it sort of took it away a little bit for me, because it sort of slowed it down a little bit more, and I was thinking, oh, quick pin, 2 seconds too late, and it's it sort of
if
just
the shoulder is up, you need to be more vocal as a referee and say, shoulders are up, you know, his shoulder's not down, like make it clear to the crowd, so then they're not like, what's going on here, why is that going, because obviously it shatters your kayfabe and then it brings people out of the storyline a bit. But other than the small critiques, excellent, top quality. Them and Roger Sears and Scott Jones completely blew it away. Like, they were fantastic, 2 world-class matches, and you can tell these are people who are working everywhere, training as much as they can. They just look a cut above in many respects. But I've got to say, like, it's a great company. It's a great show. Like, ACW just has its shit together.
Yeah, it was very enjoyable show. And shout out to whoever it was in that garden late at night when we was just about to go on our way home, and shouted "Hoya" when we asked for it. Like, absolutely fantastic.
Shout out to you getting your tits out at a petrol station, mate. Very impressed. You gotta like.
When I hear a little bit of Barry White, the t-shirt comes off.
Marvelous stuff. I'm all for seeing your Christmas yams at night, I'll tell you that much. If you want to see more of ACW, I don't know how you would do that because they're not uploading stuff to YouTube yet. So Danny with the disorder, crack on, bruv, get on with it. But yeah, no, it's one of those things where there's such a great company. If you're in the Poole or Bournemouth area absolutely get down to see a show. I know they've got a show coming up soon that I believe they're going to announce for July. So keep an eye on their social media. If you search ACW Wrestling across the board on social media, particularly Instagram and Facebook, that's where you'll find them most. I don't think they have a Twitter account, and that's where you'll find out what they're doing next. But you can't miss it. Look for Scott Jones, look for Brandon Lee. A lot of these guys are going to be the future of the business. So I honestly can't wait. Any final thoughts before we wrap it up, Mash?
Final thoughts would be I admire the crowd that were there on the weekend because they were electric.
You admire them so much, you call them cretins.
I'm not being funny. They were booing sensational. Like I mean, had to have the boys back, but
wouldn't boo sensational. So ain't nothing sensational about it. It's a fucking accountant hiding behind a desk.
I'm saying nothing more on sensational, but the crowd, I would say, well done for getting involved. Like the crowd were absolutely electric. They did what they needed to do. I like the kids were giving me a run for my money. Jesus, they were absolutely ruthless.
Yeah, if they were my children, they would have got hands down the biggest beating of their lives. But of course, at WrestlePlug, we don't condone the assault or battering of anyone's children, unless, of course, they've misbehaved too much. It's a joke. Grow up. No, bottom line is great crowd, great company, fantastic audience, fantastic venues as well. I like the venue, although, Jesus Christ, open a window, it's fucking warm in there, especially in the summer. And by the way, next time they're there is in July, peak summer conditions.
Get the AC in there.
Yeah, get the AC in there indeed. Not that one, because that might get, especially with the amount of young people running around, that's not a good thing. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching the WrestlePlug. We hope you've enjoyed this impromptu and rather late review of ACW. That's his fault because he can't be bothered to turn up for work, as you saw during the 5th match of the night. Oh, cry me a river with your faux fucking insulted face. Oh my God, I'm so shocked. Seriously, facial acting that came right out of the book of Sensational Simon, ladies and gentlemen.
Always,
up in there and next.
Always on point.
He's been the full-time geezer that is Ebenezer the Geezer, and we'll catch you very soon for more shithousery and content from the WrestlePlug.
Danger